On May 23rd, 2021, I took my first steps into a larger world. Never did I expect that a year would pass by so quickly. In just 1 year, I've traveled across 4 states, filmed 18 mini-documentaries, created 108 segment cards, 56 pieces of merch, and started 1 new show that I almost immediately put on hiatus. Anyway, I also added a few more pounds that I'm proud of, but that's a different issue. I've gained over 400 subscribers, over 25,000 views, and more experience than I can quantify. The 92 Days project brought me a wealth of new experiences, both personally and professionally, and after a short hiatus, that experience continued with my Thanksgiving and Christmas specials through to this day. In the scramble to finish the announcement video, I decided to come out here to the Cons of Prairie Outlook to film an Ebsynth animation for the outro. You see, Joel Haver's animation tutorial had come out in January of the year, and by the time this video was in production, it had gained quite a lot of traction among other skit YouTubers. While the end product wasn't exactly up to standards, it was an interesting experiment, an experiment I would return to for the finale video. My very first mini-documentary, The Long, Slow Death of Fry's Electronics, started it all. You see, I had wanted to talk about Fry's for a while. This was a passion project of mine. And the moment that I found out that they had gone under, I knew I needed to make a video about it. In many ways, this is the reason I started the 92 Days project, and the reason I'm still here today. While I was working on the Fry's Electronics video, I had been having certain, well, let's call them discussions with very close family members and friends about the importance of the modern American education system. The discussions got quite heated, as you might expect, and it got to the point where I decided that as soon as the Fry's Electronics video was done, I would launch full force into what would become my 3-part mini-series on the modern American university system, its history, its development, and why it has fallen today. I still have a whole lot more to say on the university system, schools, and really education as a whole today, but now's not the right time. From my very first journey up to Overland Park with my parents, passing by the Brown vs. Board of Education Museum here in Topeka, I knew I had to make a video on it. However, it wasn't until traveling back this way for the Fry's Electronics video that I actually began to put a plan in place. Lucky for me and my research, I had 3 weeks in between the Fry's video and what would become the Brown vs. Board of Education video. This project would become the turning point for my content creation style and substance. At the time, it was the single longest piece of media I had ever created, and to this day, it is still among the top 5 longest pieces of content I've ever made. Now, this is absolutely one of the most fun projects I've ever worked on. Not only was the story extremely interesting and terribly obscure at the time, it was also just a hilarious journey. When you've got a product so despised, given such vitriolic hate as New Coke, that it's been known as the, quote, worst marketing move in history, you know it's going to be a good time.
Come on. There we go. Okay. Oh boy. What don't I have to say about this? If there's any video that you're likely to have seen on my channel, it's this one. My essay on the Batman 2004, titled Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader, is the most successful video that I've ever created for anything ever, flat out. I've had 3 different YouTube channels. I've worked on scores and scores of videos, whether they're mostly for school or, this channel. Nothing has been nearly as successful, nearly as well received as my video on the often forgotten but beloved animated show. Not a single video other than this on my channel has brought me more pride, while at the same time bringing me more concern. It wasn't until after the 92 Days project had finished that this video actually started to see any amount of traction at all. Not once did I ever think that this video would reach 25,000 views. Funny thing, my parents decided to take me out for a nice steak dinner to celebrate 1,000 views on this video. That was such an achievement to me. And honestly, it still is. This is the only video that's cracked 1,000, and very thankful for it. It's the single most successful video on this channel. It's largely the reason any of you subscribed, I can tell you that much. But looking back, 1,000 views? Later on in that video's lifespan, there would be several weeks that went by that I saw 2,000-3,000 views on that video a week. It felt like a miracle. It was exhilarating to see any of my work be shown to a large and accepting audience. Honestly, that moment that we went out to dinner, I think that's when my parents finally began to understand what it is I was actually doing, and that it's something that you actually could be successful at. I don't know if they understood it before then, and sometimes I wonder if they remember it now. But that moment specifically, they understood. By the way, hi Mom and Dad, I'm sure you're watching this, and Grammy, Papu, if you're there too, hi. This is being filmed while you guys are out here. I have gotten so little sleep. Also, please don't take anything I'm saying as being disrespectful to you guys. I really do love you, and I'm thankful for all of the support you've given me thus far. Alright, that's kind of all I had to say. Now, if you thought the University trilogy took a long time to research, you haven't seen anything yet. The Forgotten History of Dungeons and Dragons, the 3-part miniseries, was one of the most difficult things for me to research. As I stated in the project, I adore this game. For someone like myself, a creative type who enjoys long-form storytelling, creating and living lives of these characters, and of course, just RPGs in general, this game and similar games, whether it's the Star Wars RPG or Pathfinder or even things like Call of Cthulhu, all of these different types of games are such a great outlet for storytelling and creativity, as much as these videos have ever been for me. If you've never tried Dungeons & Dragons, or maybe it's been a long time since you've played, give it a try. 5th edition is such an accessible, ubiquitous type of game. If you need help learning how to play, there's scores of YouTube channels out there dedicated to nothing except this one game. It's worth a shot. The Hicks Babies is an absolutely terribly sad story, and at the same time, a formative work of mine. The same research and structure would be put to use and expanded further in my I-70 documentary. Most importantly, my research skills and my, admittedly amateur, detective work. Like the I-70 documentary, this could, and would have been, an entire feature-length project on its own, had I the time and money, and had it not already been done by a much more well-funded team. Another piece of Americana, I absolutely adored making this video. Even more than the new Coke debacle, this video was such a difficult one to research. There was practically nothing out there other than a few short finance videos about investments in the stock market, and I do not have a mind for those sorts of things. Most of my research came down to looking through old, and I mean old, archives of articles and local records on the place. Thank God that digitization has opened access to these kinds of records, but damn if I didn't have a ton of research for this one. Here we are once again at the Konza Prairie Overlook for the finale of the project. As the sun set on the final days of production, so too did it set on my summer. While I knew that my admittedly very high hopes for the project could never be matched, I was far more satisfied and far more content with the skills and expertise gained along the way, as well as the small but loyal audience I had garnered. As with anything, long-term success requires consistent, persevering hard work. If I were to succeed at this, all I need is to put more time and energy into it. Eventually, I'll get there. Thanksgiving. The very first federal holiday. And, well, if you don't believe me, Abraham Lincoln ratified it first. Go look it up. So much of the modern interpretation about Thanksgiving is so terribly incorrect, and so many of its figures are hated for no reason. I just knew I had to make a video to stand against the false narrative that has been constructed around it. If you think you know anything about Thanksgiving, I guarantee that you don't know the entire story. Without the Puritans and their native allies, the United States would not exist today. Sure, Jamestown had existed by the time the Puritans came over, but without the Mayflower Compact, without the hard work and near death of the Puritan settlements, we would not have the foundations of the American legal system that we do today. The United States simply would not exist, period. Christmas has always been my favorite holiday. But as I've grown up, I've noticed that what the culture decides to celebrate about Christmas is so vastly different from what Christmas is supposed to be, what real Christmas is. And I don't mean Saturnalia, I don't mean Yule, I mean Christmas itself. While I would have loved to have made a video on the real, true Christmas story, I'm not nearly skilled enough yet, nor do I have the time that it would take to make such a project. And I'm absolutely not articulate enough to explain why the true Christmas story changed the world, and, well, why that's a good thing. Christmas is, without a doubt, the most important holiday in Western culture. And St. Nicholas, the man behind the modern legend, was a real man who devoted his entire devout life to the faith.
and all men whose stories become legends deserve to be remembered.
The most interesting man in the world, the man who knows everything and never dies, sometimes called the last immortal. If his legend is to be believed, Saint Germain is a man that even today we only know of from second-hand sources. Oddly enough, each of these sources agree on a series of facts about the man. The man never ate, the man never aged, and he was instrumental in some of the most important facets of European history. If you're out there, Germain, can I get an interview, please? I would love to meet the oldest man alive, and honestly, it would do wonders for my content. As you can all guess, there's nothing I'd like to do more than to make another Batman video. I love the character. I said as much several times, even in this video. But this one was a pain for me to make. What bothers me is that this is both one of the longest videos and one of the least effective videos I think that I've ever created. And it absolutely doesn't help that it's nothing but essentially a podcast. There's no clips of the actual film. There's barely any reference material to pull from. This one was a struggle. This one was quite the struggle for me. Now, I absolutely stand behind everything I said in that video. I do in fact think that The Dark Knight Rises is a very important look at the ever-prevalent political climate that we seem to continue to walk towards in our society today. There are plenty of different types of bad actors out in the world. Now, as I've stated, I would argue most of those bad actors are coming from one side more than the other. But I don't necessarily think that one side is better simply because they say one thing. No. I think there are bad actors on both sides. And I think that films like this do a very good job of trying to represent that. At the time that this film came out, it was critically panned, and to this day, there's all different types of articles and videos out there trying to explain what this movie was. From a storytelling perspective, it might be the weakest of the trilogy, but it's also the most representative of the world today. And I think we should recognize what this film is trying to tell us and understand why these ideologies exist today. We've lost sight of the importance of Western culture, and if we're not careful, Western society, Western culture, whatever you want to call it, won't be around in the next 50 to 100 years to look back on. Now, on a less philosophical note, I wish I could get footage for this video. I absolutely wish I could get footage for this video, and perhaps one day I'll remake this video. But the number one thing that kept me from making this video great was copyright issues. I couldn't get high quality clips. I mean, everything that's on YouTube, either it's the Fandango, we're gonna give you a movie in 10 different clips that really just takes 10 different clips of a film, sometimes hours apart from each other, and kind of, sort of, barely explains what the movie's about. You can't really do that with the Christopher Nolan movie, because there's no 10-minute section that's going to be easily explained really anything that they're doing at all. So I wish I could have gotten all of the clips that I needed for this video. At the same time, I recognize the video would likely have been closer to 2 hours in length. I mean, I think it's already around an hour long as it is. But I still do wish I could have gotten those clips. One day, though, one day when I can get high-quality footage of all 3 films, I'm absolutely doing a review of the Dark Knight trilogy. It's one of the most important film trilogies out there, I'd say. I would certainly put it up there with the Star Wars 6-film saga, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the concept of what The Hobbit was going for. There's a really good fan cut out there. There's a YouTube video as well, like explaining why the fan cut was cut a certain way. But there's a very good fan cut out there that's actually just one movie. It's like 2.5 hours long, and it's all 3 Hobbit films condensed into one. And it makes the story so much better. Absolutely. And you do see towards the end, Bilbo kind of just doesn't have a whole lot going on. And the fact that they keep the film focused on Bilbo in the re-edit cuts out so much nonsense that was absolutely useless. It's definitely worth a watch. Anyway, I'm getting off track. And here we are, the final mark of a year's worth of work. Let me tell you, if I had a year or 2 and the funding to make it, I would have spent all of my time on this project alone. This is the culmination of a year's worth of experience, all practice for big projects just like this. I spent an entire month in development, gave my whole spring break to collecting footage, and of course drove across 4 states to get this project completed. Now, after an experience like this, I'm no longer just some content creator online. I'm a documentary filmmaker, and it makes me look back at all of my previous projects with a certain critical lens that I wouldn't have had otherwise. If anyone were to ask, have I made a perfect product, this would have to be the closest I've gotten. Well, here we are, 1 year later, and hopefully a year wiser. What's next on the horizon for this channel? Is there season 2 of the 92 Days project? Have I slept recently? Well, okay, yes, I have slept, but that's neither here nor there. I continue to plan ahead on different mini-docs, and I've got several scripts in the work at the moment, but no, there's not going to be a season 2. At least, not this summer. I've got an internship beginning soon with my film and photography professor, and we're working on a farm-to-table documentary about a bakery here in town. I'm likely to have a lot of work on my plate, but that's not going to keep me from making these videos for all of you. I'm still committed to producing a minimum of 1 video per month, but as time allows, I will make shorts, I'll make stop-motion animations, I'll make more content, period. I absolutely love making these videos, and I wouldn't give these up for the world. Hopefully, you're all here for the long haul, same as I am. We have a long way to go, and we've made pretty good traction so far, but my dream of full-time content creation has yet to change. One day, we'll look back at this journey as a story of its own, and perhaps even this will be worth its own memory one day. Until then, we keep marching forward. If you'd like to support me, please head on over to cnp-productions.com/store and pick up a t-shirt, baseball shirt, or sticker sheet. We've got a brand new design set commemorating the 1-year anniversary of this channel. It is a bit pricier, but also, it's a limited time product. You can pick this shirt up in men's and women's sizes alongside 20-count sticker sheets for this and any other designs up on the store. Other than that, you can head on over to Patreon and support me for as little as $1 a month. Producers and executive producers will be acknowledged in the video itself. Outside of these, I'm working on getting my videos up on Rumble and Odyssey, the much-needed competition to YouTube, so please go support me over there if you can. The systems they're working with are very creator-focused and extremely accommodating. Yes, they're smaller at the moment, but they only grow larger if we're all willing to support them with our viewership. So please give it a try, you might find something you like. Other than all of that, simply liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications, regardless of your platform, means the world to me. Just knowing that others out there enjoy the work I produce keeps me going. Now, we have a lot of different projects in the works, and for the next video, I need to take a little bit of extra time to learn a new language. I'll see you all then, same bat time, same bat channel. Have a good one, and happy 1-year anniversary.